Diabetes Connections is brought to you by Inhaled Insulin. Fast in, fast out fits your lifestyle. By Omnipod, simplify life with Omnipod 5. By Dexcom G7, the #1 covered CGM brand. And by Edgepark, simplify your diabetes journey with Edgepark.
This is Diabetes Connections with Stacey Sims.
This week, Tandem's tiny Mobi pump is FDA approved and set for a limited rollout in the next few weeks. We've got a deep dive into its features. Mobi is phone controlled, but it has a button that delivers insulin and does more.
You press it, and it actually has two little LEDs above that, which is a status indicator. You can press it, and it'll tell you if it's delivering basal insulin. It'll tell you if it's delivering a auto correction bolus, or if there's an alert or alarm on there. That's really designed so you don't actually have to have your phone with you all the time to be able to see what's going on.
That's Ben Marr, Tandem's Director of Product Marketing. We go through all of those features, answer a bunch of your questions about Mobi, and about what else is coming up for Tandem Diabetes. This podcast is not intended as medical advice. If you have those kinds of questions, please contact your healthcare provider. Welcome to another week of the show. I am always so glad to have you here. You know we aim to educate and inspire about diabetes with a focus on people who use insulin. Big welcome first to my new listeners, all the folks I met at Mom's Night Out Providence. These events are so good for my soul. I'm thrilled that you all came out and got so much out of it, but I promise you I probably get more than anybody else. Our next Mom's Night Out is coming up in February, and that one is here where I am in Charlotte. I announced last week that I am launching a Type 2 focused show, and that launch is this week. Just a heads up, you're going to see at least the first 2 episodes of that show in this feed. You know, if you listen in a podcast app, which most of you do, it's going to show up automatically. But it is a separate and distinct show, and I don't expect to continue to put it in this feed for very long. Like I said, it'll only be the first 2 episodes or maybe 3. As you can imagine, launching a podcast from scratch when you're not a celebrity, it has some challenges. So I do appreciate your support and your patience here for that. This time of year always seems to be a time where we get some, late year approvals and some interesting rollouts. We just saw Omnipod 5 iPhone integration get FDA approval, and that's going to roll out in 2024. As many of you know, my son uses the Tandem pump system, and we got the email that we would be part of the limited launch G7T Slim X2 integration, which is supposed to happen really any day. And Mobi was approved earlier this year and will have its own limited launch before the end of 2023. So there is a lot going on for all of the pump companies. Longtime listeners will remember that the internal name for Mobi was the T-Sport. And we have been talking about this for a long time. So I got to tell you, when I saw the Mobi pump in person earlier this month at my Mom's Night Out event in Texas, I was very excited. I took some pictures. I asked a lot of questions. The Tandem rep there was fielding a lot of questions from a lot of people. It looks very different. My guest, Ben Marr, is here to talk about everything Mobi and more. He's the Director of Product Marketing. And big thanks to all of you who sent in your questions or posted in the Diabetes Connections Facebook group. Ben, welcome. Thanks for spending some time with us today.
Thanks, Stacey. It's fun to be here.
Yeah. Before we get started, you are the Director of Product Marketing.
That's correct.
Tell me a little bit about what that means, because we're not just talking about the ad campaign for things today, right?
Yeah, that's 100% correct. We've marketing's kind of this big, broad term that a lot of people think different things of. The product bit kind of helps explain a little bit. My role and our job really is to kind of bring products to market, and we work with our engineering team, our product management team, to kind of, as they get closer and closer, and as we sort of talk about FDA clearance, it's really just to bring the product to market and sort of highlight all the features and benefits and make sure everyone has all the information they need to sort of either get up and running, use it, be successful, everything around that. In a nutshell, that's what we do.
I want to jump right in because we're talking just a couple of days after my Mom's Night Out event in Frisco, Texas, just outside of Dallas, which is the first time I saw the Mobi in person. Mm-hmm. I got to hold it. I got to tell you, people were very excited about it. Before I jump in with my questions, how do you describe this product to people?
Well, to really talk about Mobi, it's a few different things. The way we speak about it is it, and if you're familiar with T-Slim X2, it's really a miniature version of that. And I think that's a lot of the reaction that people have when they first see it. Essentially, it's cleared for use in the same manner as the T-Slim X2, but it's less than half the size of it. So that's the big thing. It's small. And the reason it's small is because it's completely controlled by an iPhone. So there's no screen on it. It's completely standalone, but you use your own personal smartphone to use it. That's the big visual differences that you see with there. The similarities, though, it's got Control IQ built into it. So that's always on the pump. And that's obviously something that we have within Tandem. That's obviously a big thing. It's also compatible with all of our existing infusion sets. So you can use all the infusion sets that you use today on the T-Slim X2 with the addition of a short 5-inch infusion set, which is designed to use with our adhesive sleeve. So you can both, wear it as you would the T-Slim X2 today, but also wear it on body as well if you want to do that. It's so tiny that, and we've got pictures of it, it can fit into that coin pocket that people have on their jeans that they no longer use anymore. It's that small, but it can be worn anywhere. And that's really the big defining thing about Mobi. It's so small that you can put it in a coin pocket, you can wear it on body, you can wear it in your pockets, and it's just tiny. And people obviously are really resonate and notice that first and foremost.
This is an audio podcast, but as we were talking, I can see that you are holding it. Yeah,
Yep.
It is really small, and it's got that little tiny pigtail right at the top.
Yep.
Talk to me a little bit, though, about the button that's on it.
Oh, good question. And I probably should have mentioned that as well. And a lot of people don't know this, but we have a pump button that's built directly on there. And the pump button does really two things. You press it, and it actually has two little LEDs above that, which is a status indicator. You can press it and it'll tell you if it's delivering basal insulin. It'll tell you if it's delivering a auto correction bolus or if there's an alert or alarm on there. That's really designed so you don't actually have to have your phone with you all the time to be able to see what's going on. You press it and you can tell there's a status on there and everything's good, or say, hey, I need to check my phone to see what's going on. The other good thing about it, which is actually something that is built into the T-Slim X2 today, but no one really knows about it, is it's a quick bolus button. So the quick bolus button means you can deliver a bolus if you're obviously having lunch or during a meal, and it's programmable in either units or carbs, and the increments of those are settable by the user themselves. So it's a pretty neat feature, we think.
Yeah. Before we move on, though, you said the Mobi indicates basal or if there's issues, but not on the phone, but there's no screen. How is it indicating?
And the thing about Mobi is the pump itself is the brains. So the pump is what connects to the CGM. The algorithm is built onto there. The phone itself is, what you use to make changes to it and check the status. But the pump knows what's going on because that's what's sort of managing everything. So you press the button and it'll tell you if it's delivering basal or not, or whatever else.
I guess what I'm asking, Ben, is how is it telling you? Is it a light? Is it audible?
Yeah, exactly. It's a light as well. It's a different colored indicator that's on there, but it also has, obviously we've got alerts and alarms built in it, and they're the same as the T-Slim X2 today. They're both, you can set them in to be vibrating, or you can set them to be audible as well.
So that Mobi itself is audible.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's on the pump itself.
For some reason, I thought there was nothing on the pump. It was just phone. So you've got lights, you've got vibration, you've got the bolus button. Got it. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's really designed to be able to function on its own for a lot of the time without needing to use the phone. That's the whole unique thing about Mobi, I would say, as well.
All right. Talk to me about the sleeve. And Ben, a couple of years ago, when we first started talking about it, I was trying to guess how this would stick to the body. I may be technical enough to go back and find those episodes and edit them here, but I can tell you I was asking questions like, is it like color forms, which no one remembers but me apparently, where you stick it on and then it comes off and it sticks again and it comes, you don't have to replace an adhesive every single time. Is there something else? Is there I had no idea how it would stick to the body. Can you explain how this works?
Yeah, I don't know what color forms are either, but I can explain.
I'm going to have to go get some off of eBay and show everybody.
I can explain I'm from Australia, so I feel like people make fun and say I'm not exposed to many things anyway. Yeah, the sleeve itself, it's kind of like a patch in the fact that it's got like a Band-Aid, right? It's got something that it's an adhesive that you stick to the body, and then it's got a little tray and a piece of elastic that then you slip the pump into it. And that's literally it. And then you've got the little 5-inch infusion set. So it's a little pocket, an elastic pocket that you slide the pump into, And once you've got the sleeve on, you can pull it in and out. And that's something that's obviously important for us, is you can pull it out and you can disconnect it, whether you want to have a shower or you want to have another activity as well that's built into that. But it's a little optional accessory, kind of similar to an overpatch that people sometimes use for CGMs in terms of the concept of it.
I'm trying to think of things to compare it to. Eversense, for example, they talk about, and I've seen some people on Instagram who show that the transmitter comes off and on the skin, and you can use the same adhesive a few times. Obviously, traditional adhesives are one and done.
Yep.
What is this, more of a one and done, or can you use it more?
It'll last up to 3 days. So you just essentially we'll be providing them in 10 packs, and you can use them for 3 days. But you can take the pump out as many times as you want, and then really when you're changing your infusion set, if you're wanting to wear it on body, you usually put on a new adhesive sleeve at the same time. Got
it. So people who have more sensitive skin, I'm sure you've tested this. Anything? Yep. I don't even know what to ask, right? Because it's such an individual question in terms of what will react.
Well, I mean, we tested a lot, but to your point as well, it is individual. We haven't seen those issues. We think it works most of the time, but you never know until you get certainly some individuals. But again, it's an accessory and it's designed to be that way. You don't have to use it. For people that want to use it, they absolutely can. It's not something that you need to use to be able to use Mobi.
And while you'll have the sleeve that you can put it in, you can put this in, like you said, in your jeans pocket or anywhere else you want to wear it. I mean, I can see women kind of tuck it into the bra, wherever else people have found places to put their insulin pump.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's got a little case that actually the pump can slide into it as well. So which has got a clip on it. Again, you can clip it onto your belt. You can clip it into your pocket. You can clip it into your bra. These things are designed to be, and this is a big thing about Tandem and Mobi in particular. It's designed to give people options, because we know that, diabetes isn't really one size fits all. People want to use it the way they want to use it. And we've actually spent a lot of time on the accessories themselves to make sure that they're really well used and they provide people a lot of options in terms of how they wear the pump.
Waterproof?
It's rated to IP28. So that's obviously there's a water ingress term, but essentially it means where you can submerge it under up to 8 feet for 2 hours. It is designed to protect from general getting water on it as well, but we wouldn't recommend you go scuba diving with it.
Without clicking off of Zoom and being rude and researching, do you know what the Omnipod is rated? Is that a similar waterproofness?
It is.
It's the same, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And the water ingress is the same as like an iPhone or a general smartphone. They're usually rated to similar levels to that.
Interesting.
To what Mobi is.
But as a marketing person, why would you give me a more complicated answer when Omnipod advertises as waterproof? Or, they have lots of splashing in their commercials and things like that.
Well, that's another part of the team that decides on all of the creative. I get to share my opinion on that sort of stuff and how we use it. Yeah, I think my answer would be, we can talk about what we know about Tandem Mobi. Obviously, I'm just trying to help you with that answer. It's really up to Insulet and Omnipod how they want to show and describe their product.
Totally understand. Okay, so here's some listener questions about Mobi. I don't have any names with these, which I hate. I usually put the names with them. So here's the question. I am really excited about Mobi. Can you purchase a separate controller to use if your phone breaks or get lost? And will that controller also have Dexcom integration?
Good question. That's a very good question. And there's a semi-complex answer that I can provide to that. At the time when we launch, it will be available via a iPhone iOS app only. So that means you can use your personal iPhone to control and use Mobi. That was very strong feedback that we heard, and we continually hear that people want to be able to use their medical devices with their own personal smartphones. So we kind of made sure that was available first, but we do hear feedback about wanting a controller, and that's something that we are looking into. What I can say, though, as well, which I think in that scenario where you said, what happens if I break my phone, is we have some security built in that to make sure that the mobile app, the Mobi that you're using, you manage and you control what you pair it to. But the good thing about Mobi is because it's got the pump button that can tell you the status, and because it's got Control IQ built into it, your therapy can keep running for a period of time. And if that scenario happens where you break your phone, you can actually, if you've got a loved one or a caregiver that also uses an iPhone, you can actually download the app and pair with another phone as well. As long as you've got the device on you, you can actually use that in that scenario.
I got ahead of the game here because we started with Mobi. I'm going to interrupt our Mobi conversation because the number one question my listeners have is all about G7 integration with Tandem products. So let's take a pause and ask you about that. I know Tandem has said by the end of the year, Dexcom has said by the end of the year. We're getting close to the end of the year. Can you tell me anything, Ben?
Yeah, we are getting close to the end of the year. I got to start shopping for Christmas presents. What I can say about T-Slim X2 and G7 integration is we actually have a scaled launch that's beginning this fall. So we are close, and I will say that. And I think we've shared this before, but this is our 4th integration. We've been partnering with Dexcom for 10 years now, and we feel very, very excited about the G7 that's coming soon.
Great. And I should disclose that as T-Slim users, Benny and we now share communication. So he gets the texts and I get the emails. And I got the email for the limited launch. So I have not received that it's happening or that it's been, I don't exactly, what I'm trying to say. I haven't received that we have the integration, but hopefully we'll be in that first wave. So I will report to you as you listen if we get updates on that.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I am excited for him. He's whatever. We can talk about Benny later. He's probably going to be like, that's great. I don't have any time to do it. Oh, he's killing me in college. Got a question though, back to Mobi and some other questions there. Please, 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 when will Android control be available for Mobi? I am ready to jump immediately, but I dread being forced to switch to the iPhone. I might make the switch temporarily and switch back to Android. Will it be months or years, do you think?
It's a really good question. So we obviously get that requests and feedback a lot. We prioritize doing iOS first, but we definitely want to bring Android to market. I don't have any timing to share. I'm not close enough to engineering yet, but we are working on it, and we obviously want to bring that out soon.
Got it. Question basically about staying with the X2. If we don't upgrade to Mobi, will we still get to upgrade the T-Connect app? I'm assuming it has all pump capabilities. In other words, right now, the Bolus by phone is handy, but can you talk about the T-Connect app with perhaps more features and more operability?
Yeah, that's a question we get a lot as well. The short answer is yes. We actually will continue to make updates to both like T-Slim and T-Slim X2 and the T-Connect app over time. We actually fairly regularly provide app updates. So I can't speak to any particular features, but what I can say is yes, we're going to continue to make updates to that. I think we've shared this before, is we really think there's a use for both T-Slim X2 people that want to use that pump and Tandem Mobi. So it's not like an either or choice. We're going to continue to support and add features over time to both of those products.
Yeah. And kind of a similar question about algorithms. Will the Basal IQ algorithm continue to be available, and will it be on the Mobi?
So currently there's no plans that we would share to be able to add that to Mobi. As it stands, really what we're doing is making Control IQ, the same algorithm that's available today on the T-Slim X2, is what's going to be available when we launch on Mobi as well.
Excellent. Just kind of confirming something that I had talked about with Tandem in the past, and that is, and I think it's worth remarking on, that pretty soon we're going to have G6 and G7 and Libre.
Yep.
Still on track for 3 different, and you don't have to buy a different pump, right? I mean, this is compatible on the same piece of hardware.
Correct. And so that's the timing really where we can share is like this fall. It's going to be a scaled launch. It's going to start with adding G7 and then Freestyle Libre shortly after that. And you're right. It's essentially once you have a compatible pump, you update your pump software, you have a choice of up to 3 different CGMs that you can use with our T-Slim X2 pump. And that's something we thought about a lot. And we think it's really, really important to be able to essentially provide access to people that use a CGM, no matter which one of those 3 CGMs use, to get the benefits of automated insulin delivery. We think that's a really important thing that we'll be able to provide soon.
Yeah. And not to put a fine point on it, but let's talk about how that would work. My understanding is that you get the pump, you update the software, right? Once they are compatible with these different CGM systems, but you would be able to switch back and forth, right? If I go to G7, but then for some reason I have to use a G6, I'm able to switch my pump, right?
Yeah, you're able to switch your sensor.
I'm
right?
sorry,
So
excuse me.
you don't have to change the pump. You don't. It's just really just an option built into the pump itself. You will be able to do that. We think in that case, if someone wants to do that, they can. But the real use case, like I said, is there's many people that are using different CGMs out there. So this gives them the option to get access to Control-IQ technology as a result of that. And the other good thing about it is that sensor supplies and all these things, they generally you get 3 months worth of supplies. And so then you previously, you've had to time that to a software update and make sure you're matching it up at the same time. Right now, you just have to update your pump software. And then when your supplies change, and then you can go from Dexcom G6 to Dexcom G7 at the time of your choice. We think people are going to like that. And it's a big convenience factor.
That's exactly what I'm thinking of. There's going to be that small percentage of people, most of whom listen to this podcast, who want to try everything and are switching sensors and flipping switches and getting borrowing and sealing sensors. But for the vast majority of people, this is just a wonderful thing if they perhaps run out of something or they do use a different CGM. They go to the G7 or they are already using Libre and they want to try Control-IQ. So I hear what you're saying, but we've been in the diabetes community now 17 years. And to think about the options that are coming like this interoperability, I used to call it like the Mr. Potato Head of diabetes, right? Did you have that in Australia? Did Mr. Potato Head?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I know that one. Thank you.
I did that one.
Thanks for checking.
But to have it come to fruition is really exciting. It's
Yeah.
amazing to me to talk to people who are starting their diabetes journey with an AID pump. So it's really cool. Ben, do you live with diabetes? I should have asked first.
I do not. I've been close enough with it. A lot of close friends, and my preschool teacher, my son's 4-year-old preschool teacher, is a Tandem user. So we talk regularly about when he's going to have access to update his pump software soon as well.
Just a couple more questions from my listeners. This is some international questions. UK, a few other places waiting for that T-Slim app. Any update? We are, quote, feeling like the poor relations outside the US.
Yeah, we hear that a lot, and I can empathize with that a lot. I can tell you we're working on it. We really want to be able to bring that out as quickly as possible, but we're working as fast as we can. There's technical things, there's regulatory things, there's a lot of steps to be able to get there, but trust me, we really, really want to make sure that our whole system is available as many countries as we can get to.
Excellent. We had heard for a while about a more aggressive Control-IQ algorithm. Any update on that?
No, there's nothing that I would be able to speak to about that one. But yeah, we obviously get those questions a lot. And we're working on obviously improving all of our system, but Control-IQ, we get that feedback. And we're always trying to make sure that Control-IQ can help users manage their diabetes better and also make it easier and easier to use overall.
So the last couple of years, Tandem made some acquisitions of companies that were really interesting, right? A tubeless pump, right? Siggy. Are we going to see anything with that? That's the first question I wanted to ask you. Any update you can give us there?
Nothing that I can share today.
Got it. And the other company with infusion sets. We haven't heard.
Cap Bio, Capillary Bio.
Thank you, Cap Bio. We haven't heard that much about them. In fact, I reached out to them and they declined an interview for now. This is very exciting because infusion sets, I've always thought, as many do, weak link of pumping, right? Needs to get better. I guess I'll ask it this way, anticipating that you're going to say you can't talk about it. Are you anticipating improvements and differences in the infusion sets?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, speaking to that, the short answer is yes. I can't share anything in terms of timing, but obviously that's a reason why they joined part of the Tandem family, being able to make improvements to infusion sets, longer lasting, where they're all things that we want to work on and we want to be able to improve as well.
Yeah, that's great. Ben, before I let you go, and I feel like we went through a laundry list here, and I appreciate you answering what you can. I feel like after a few years of waiting, the last couple of years have been pretty exciting in diabetes. Still a long way to go, right? I mean, diabetes still stinks. But what gets you excited about all this?
Oh, well, I'll tell you a quick story of my sort of journey to Tandem, actually, which I think was a good start for me. I got my job offer on the same day that we got clearance for Control-IQ. I know it was a huge day in Tandem's history, and it was a pretty special day for me. And I started the week that we launched Control-IQ, and it was kind of amazing to see just the impact and the feedback just immediately from when people started updating their pump and using Control-IQ. It was very, very moving and very exciting to me. And I know that brought meaning to my sort of beginning of my Tandem career. And I know being here for a little bit, it's just kind of amazing to see how much progress has been made in the last few years. You speak to people that have been in this space for a long time, and they're like, wow, it's kind of amazing. But then I also look forward and I think about where we're heading. And so we've spoken about it before. We've got G7, Freestyle Libre, we've got Tandem Mobi, and then we've also got a provider platform that we're going to be launching this year. So it's a really busy time for Tandem overall, and that's just Tandem. I think there's a lot of runway to go to really make a difference in people's lives. And I think we've come a long way. We've got a long way to go, and it's really exciting. And that's what overall gets me excited working with Tandem and sort of being in this industry, just to see how much progress we continue to make and how much we can make, especially to people that live with diabetes, and making their management of their diabetes just a little bit easier.
Yeah. Ben, you shared off air that you do try the products, obviously not pumping insulin because you don't have diabetes, but you put the stuff on.
Yep.
I don't know if you can answer that or want to answer this, but like, do you have a complaint, or do you have something you would love, like wave a magic wand? What would you change besides not having to have needles and things like that? Right.
Yeah. There's always things that can get better no matter what. It's nothing's perfect out there in the world. I think really what we want to do and we continue to work on is like really being able to take people's minds off managing their diabetes as much as possible. And that's like, they can be a sleeve, they can be infusion sets, they can be improvements to the algorithms, they can obviously be new hardware. All of those things can make a difference. It doesn't just have to be one component of that. I would say that's just something we've got to do, like no matter what, on in all of those areas as much as possible, because that really makes it easier overall. That's really what we want to do.
I'm so sorry. I was going to let you go, but I have one more quick question. I get this question from parents all the time. Is there a follow app in the works for Tandem?
Again, that's something that we are working on for sure, and we've gotten that feedback. I don't have any timing on that one, but definitely we are working on that one.
Excellent. Ben, thank you so much for spending so much time with me. I really appreciate answering all of these questions. I'd love to have you back on when the limited launch or the full launch comes through.
Yep.
Thank you so much for spending so much time with me.
Thanks, Stacey. I really appreciate it.
You're listening to Diabetes Connections with Stacey Sims.
As always, more information about Tandem, their plans, and our previous episodes as well. We've talked to Tandem a lot about their upcoming products, including a true tubeless pump. And all of that will be in the show notes. You can find that over at diabetes-connections.com or wherever you are listening. I didn't get a chance to ask Ben about upgrading to the Mobi or getting it as your first pump. I have some information about that in terms of what it'll cost. Looking ahead to 2024 in January, I'm going to go to She Podcasts, a conference I really love going to. Of course, this is about women in podcasting. Then we've got Mom's Night Out Charlotte the first weekend in February. And I will be the keynote along with Carrie Sparling at the JDRF Greater New England Conference. That is in Boston in March. I would love to come and talk at your event. If you head on over to the community page at diabetes-connections.com, you can see all of the talks that I give, lots of different subjects. I'm always trying to change it up and add new ones. So if you've got a subject that you would really like to hear more about, please let me know. All right, I promised to talk a little bit about how you can get the Tandem Mobi pump. Again, limited release in the end of 2023, which is basically here, and full release, they say, in 2024. Tandem is doing something called the Tandem Choice Program. If you get a t:slim X2 pump, the regular pump, between now and the end of this year, December 31st, 2023, you may be eligible to switch to the Tandem Mobi for a one-time payment of $199 when it becomes available. I will link that up. Now, if you have purchased your pump earlier than that, it's a one-time payment of $999. I will link up all the details. I know that these pump companies can't just give this stuff away. I was really hoping that I could get Benny a Mobi and have the X2 so we could kind of change back and forth. So I'm going to be looking into that, especially as more insurers cover this in a more robust way, because my guess is that, like most new systems, there's going to be a lot of insurers that don't cover it right off the bat. And we will find that perhaps some will cover it much more fully, making this more of an option, but I doubt that'll happen right away. So we'll talk more about that in the new year, but I'd love to hear your experiences because I know some of you are going to get this right away. All right, thanks as always to my editor, John Buchanan from Audio Editing Solutions. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Stacey Sims. I'll see you back here soon. Until then, be kind to yourself.
Diabetes Connections is a production of Stacey Sims Media. All rights reserved, all wrongs avenged.